Goblin Slayer is one of my favorite animes of all time, and I have probably gotten quite a few looks or comments from people questioning that it's one of my top 5 and why the heck do I even like it in the first place. I understand that a lot of people don't like it, and it's fair. You don't have to like it. But I will defend the anime when people say it's straight up trash. Possibly the biggest reason Goblin Slayer is hated on so much is because of episode 1. Now, I get it. Episode 1 was definitely the reason a lot of people quickly turned away from this anime. But honestly, I thought episode 1 was awesome. Goblin Slayer's entrance, literally just a peak entrance for the type of anime it is. So I'm obviously not going to get descriptive on some parts about the anime because of certain things, such as episode 1. I do have a few volumes of the manga myself, and the manga is definitely something else because the manga is not in alignment with the anime. And what I mean by that is volume 3 takes place of episode 12. So if you don't know, you never read the manga, but you watched the anime, but you've never seen either, the manga of volume 3 is episode 12, when Goblin Slayer and the rest of the Adventurers Guild go out and defend Goblin Slayer's farm and home against a major goblin invasion from the Goblin King. I never understood why they did that, but you know, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. I already seen the entire series, so I just really collect these just to have them on the shelf, along with my Goblin Slayer figure and Priestess figure. So as we know, after the infamous scene that turned people away from the anime, we get Goblin Slayer's epic entrance where he is unfazed by a goblin attack, and he's straight up merciless. And we see that even more in the episode. Not only does he straight up kill the goblins and give a merciful kill to the girl that was poisoned, who happened to be the sister of a wizard in season 2. Goblin Slayer being this protagonist that is merciless against the enemy, and that enemy being goblins, is one thing that I really liked about this character and why it's in one of my top 5. Especially when we get to the end of that scene where he kills the goblin children, and then we move forward. Later on in the episode, we find out that Goblin Slayer is merciless because of what he went through as a child, and that being he saw his sister get killed by goblins, and they did things to her, which I'm not going to say because, as I said, I can't be descriptive, otherwise I may get this video taken down. Now, one of the most ridiculous things I've heard people say why they don't like this anime is because the anime is violence against women. The anime isn't, but the villains are, and the villains being goblins. If the anime was really violence against women, then Goblin Slayer would be the one doing things wrong, and he's the protagonist. He is the protagonist who kills the enemies that do the wrong things. If we followed that kind of logic, there would be problems with so many animes, especially with One Piece, possibly the biggest of the big 3. One Piece has so many things that would not be considered okay by our standards in the West with our media. So we cannot fairly say that Goblin Slayer is violence towards women because it's the enemies doing the wrong things towards women, when Goblin Slayer is the one doing the killing of the enemies. And one of the biggest reasons Goblin Slayer is on this adventure in the first place is because of what happened to his sister. But on to another reason why I like this anime so much. One of the biggest ones is because the theme of the anime. So my favorite game genre of all time is RPGs, and Goblin Slayer is a D&D style anime, or I'd like to say at least. And D&D is an RPG game, whether you're talking about the actual game of Dungeons and Dragons or the video game adaptations. They're all RPGs. So that is another reason I like the anime. Some people may say that's not a good reason to say that Goblin Slayer is a great one, but I definitely say it is. And another reason I hear people say they don't like Goblin Slayer, which is not a reason I heard much of compared to the last one I said, but the reason, it sexualizes women too much. That's just media, okay? That's just media, especially with anime in general. Anime is known for having characters that have these very difficult to impossible to achieve bodies, both men and women. Yes, you have women who have the hourglass physique, but you have male anime characters that are literally shredded. They are ripped. And to give examples, Deku, Mash, Eren Yeager from seasons 1, 2, and 3, they're not even adults yet, and they are ripped. Deku was in high school when he got shredded through All Might's training. Eren Yeager was a teenager in the military when he got shredded. And Mash from Mashal is literally 16, can lift a lot. Have you seen the amount of plates he benches and lifts? He is shredded and he's 16 years old. Can you tell me how many guys you know at that age that can lift crazy and is shredded like that? You probably don't know that much. You probably don't know any. You also have anime characters like Goku, Yujiro Hamna from Baki, and All Might, who have crazy physiques. They are shredded. That is practically impossible to achieve if you're not taking any steroids. But even then, you will not look exactly like them. So it's not just female anime characters, it's also male anime characters, and it's just an anime thing in general. It's not new, so it's not strict to just Goblin Slayer. And let's not forget that Goblin Slayer is known as a dark anime. It's definitely not as dark as animes like Berserk or Made in Abyss, where they are traumatizing to a lot of people, even adults who think they are ready to witness it. But you don't hear people complaining about those in such negative ways compared to Goblin Slayer. And speaking of D&D, my first D&D character I based off Goblin Slayer. My D&D character, he's not called Goblin Slayer, he has an actual name, is literally on his own quest, his own personal quest, to kill goblins. And it was inspired by the anime. Don't believe me? Just ask my friend Nick. So go subscribe to his channel, and if you're interested, ask him. He can definitely confirm. And he definitely knows how much I like Goblin Slayer. If you're not comfortable with Goblin Slayer because of the type of content it has, that's perfectly fine, like I said before. But if you're going to just completely bash on it because of that content, take a look at the type of animes you're watching. Like One Piece probably has much darker stuff. Or you have other animes that you like that have darker stuff in it, but completely trashing on Goblin Slayer because of its dark stuff when it's a dark anime, I don't really see how that makes sense. If you definitely don't like the anime, you're definitely not going to like the manga. The manga is uncensored. It is the only uncensored manga I have. The panels on this thing are extra wild. If you thought the anime was brutal to watch, this is extra brutal. They really show how merciless Goblin Slayer is towards the goblins and how merciless the goblins are. And I think that's one of the best things about this series, both anime and manga. It's a different type of experience compared to the two, almost like watching Berserk, but also reading Berserk. Now, the anime of Berserk I heard was not that good, but the manga was extra. So I definitely think a Goblin Slayer like that, even though it's not on the same level. Let's be honest. The anime was good, the manga was good for Goblin Slayer, but as I've heard, the Berserk anime is not that good compared to the manga. But as I've said before, episode 12 of the anime takes place in volume 3 of the manga, which I don't see how that makes sense, because episode 12 made more sense because the battle that took place made more sense to be at the end of the first season than being early in the manga in volume 3. Because volume 2 is when Goblin Slayer met up with the other party members and they went and invaded a goblin nest and Goblin Slayer killed an ogre. Neither volume 2 nor volume 3 have Goblin Slayer and the others going up against a goblin champion where they met the Sword Maiden. In fact, the Sword Maiden isn't even shown at all in these 3 volumes. So we don't get to see Goblin Slayer being brutally beaten up, or the party almost dying, and Goblin Slayer almost dying. So I never really understood why they went with that. Another reason I like Goblin Slayer's character so much is in the anime, we don't see his face. And the reason for it, I don't think it's been confirmed. Now, the reason we don't see Goblin Slayer's face, I don't think has been confirmed by the creator yet. But in the anime, in manga, the reason Goblin Slayer never takes off his helmet is because of an ambush. In case he's ambushed, his helmet protects him from being knocked out if he was hit in the head. But I think the main reason is because, as I said before, Goblin Slayer is a D&D style anime, and Goblin Slayer is the protagonist, and the protagonist of a D&D campaign is you. You control the D&D character. So I believe they don't show Goblin Slayer's full face is because he's supposed to represent the protagonist of a D&D campaign, and like I said, that's you. So I don't know about you, but I think those are good reasons why I don't think Goblin Slayer is trash. I don't think Goblin Slayer is a bad anime, and why Goblin Slayer is one of my favorites. So if you agree with me, please drop a like. And if you have your own reasons on why you like Goblin Slayer, please let me know in the comments below. And if you don't like Goblin Slayer, that's fine. I mean, you do you. But if you trash on it, I will defend. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please drop a like. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. GG, everyone.